Well, I just cut open this giant watermelon I grew in my garden. It's not a world record, but it's pretty big, and I made a lot of mistakes. This is the first year I tried growing a giant watermelon. If you want to see how much it weighed and watch step by step how I grew this watermelon, make sure you watch the whole video. Take a guess in the comment down below how heavy you think this was. This is half of it, but for now, I can't eat it. It's all rotten, so I'm gonna throw it in the compost pile. Now, I first got the idea of growing a large watermelon after seeing a giant that my friend grew. It was the new state record that was over 231 pounds. So I went online to look for seeds. I found a website called World Class Gardening, and there they had giant watermelon seeds from one that was over 315 pounds. It was called Kent, and it was grown in 2017. At the time, this would be for 2023, so the seeds were over 5 years old, and they were selling for $50 for just 8 seeds. But I really wanted to try it, so I ordered them. So the giant watermelon seeds arrived in the mail. The pack included 10 seeds instead of 8. Also, it came with a free pack with 8 more seeds. That's 18 seeds total. I don't need that many, but you can freeze the seeds and use them next year. I'm going to open up this pack and select the best seeds. Here's the 10. I don't need that many. I think I'm going to start 4 and save the rest. That will give me a backup if these don't work. If I have 4 giant watermelons, that's going to take up a lot of space in the garden. Now, along with the seeds, they also included instructions. So the germination guide included with the seeds gives quite a few tips. First of all, they talk about temperature and moisture of the soil, but also the seed husk can be kind of hard, and they suggest filing the edges of the hard coating around the seed down. That will improve the sprout's ability to break out and start to grow. So now that the edges have been worked down, we're going to soak the seeds for 1 hour. And now we're ready to plant them. Each pot will get its own seed. I have 4 pots here. I'm just going to dig a small hole, place the seed in there. Then we're going to water in the soil and place it in the greenhouse. And next time you see these, they'll be popping out of the soil with green leaves. So it's been 5 days, and as you can see, quite a bit has happened. When I left these in the greenhouse last Friday, none of them broke the surface. But when I came back on Monday, here's what I saw. Now this plant has way too long of a stem. It was far away from the light and it became leggy. But hopefully it grows into a great watermelon plant. The other 3 haven't broken the surface. We're going to give them more time. But so far, I only have a 25% germination rate. But that's okay. These seeds were very old and kept in the freezer. And the seller gave way more than 10 of what they advertised as a buffer. So even if I only get 1 plant, it's a success. So it's been a week and a half. Our watermelon's starting to grow additional leaves, but the stem is still way too leggy and it can't stand up on its own. If it's not on that wooden stake, it will fall right down, and I'm worried it might get damaged. So I'm going to repot it in some deeper soil. I want it to be very dry on top because I don't want the stem to rot. Hopefully you can do this. I do it all the time with tomatoes, but I'm not sure with watermelons. I'll start by placing a small amount of soil in the bottom. And now I'll very carefully remove our potted plant. Oh, I don't want that stem to break. And add additional soil. So now that our watermelon is repotted, hopefully it can grow a strong stem and hold up its own weight. I'm placing it right under the lights so it won't get more leggy. We'll check in soon to see the progress. Our watermelon plant is doing very well. It now has large leaves, and I'm ready to transfer it from the greenhouse out to the garden. But first, I'm going to give it a few hours of sunlight each day to adjust it, then we'll plant it outside. Well, today is a big day in our quest to grow a giant watermelon. It's transplant day. It's May 28th, which is about the earliest I want to put these outside where I live. The weather's unpredictable, and I don't want to get a cold snap and kill our plants, but I feel pretty safe right now. As you can see, our potted plant has grown a ton. It's got a long vine. It's ready to go outside and really start growing. So here's where we're gonna plant the watermelon. I'm first gonna dig a deep hole and amend the soil where the roots are with compost. Okay, this is the big moment. We're gonna plant our watermelon right in the center of the soil and compost mix. This is extremely fertile and the watermelon should do well. Our watermelon is growing like crazy. It's sending out vines in all directions, and on the vines it's covered in flowers, and right here is even a tiny watermelon. We're gonna let one of these grow and pull off the rest of them, and that way this plant can put all its energy into growing the largest watermelon possible. So as you can see, our watermelon is really growing, sending out vines everywhere, and we have our first largest watermelon starting to get bigger. So what I'm gonna do is go around this whole watermelon plant and remove all the other watermelons starting to grow, so all the energy can go into this one watermelon. So I have my knife here, and we're gonna go around and prune the rest of the watermelons. So here's our largest watermelon, and this is the only one allowed to grow. The rest of them are starting to get pretty big. If you cut them open, it's all white and pulpy inside, and you can kind of see the start of seeds. Well, it's been a week, and look how much our watermelon has grown compared to my hand. It is getting bigger by the day. I keep watering it. The weather's really hot, and it is growing and swelling. It's amazing. I'm sure in a few days it will be even bigger. And here's a zoomed out view of the plant. Those vines are reaching out. It's probably 10 feet across, and it's still going. The weather's been very hot, and our watermelon has been growing at a rapid rate. So rapid that it's starting to split on the end. I was hoping that wouldn't happen, but it did. So we'll keep letting it go, but that's pretty disappointing. The main thing is watering this, fertilizing it, and picking off all these tiny watermelons at the end of each vine. I have to pull off at least 10 a day, so if I didn't pull those off, this watermelon plant would have dozens and dozens of watermelons. But take a look at this split. It's right on the sunburn, right on the end. I guess it grew too fast. Here's the split in the rind. It's starting to get bigger. It goes up this way and along here. So we're gonna keep letting it grow and see what happens. It's been another week, and the splitting is getting even worse, so I've really slowed down the growth. I've cut back on water and fertilizing, and right now my goal is not to get the biggest watermelon possible, but just to get some seeds. So I think it's pretty close. We're gonna cut it open soon, but I've also stopped pulling off all the other watermelons, and I'm letting them grow on the same plant. This is a huge plant, and since our first one split, we're gonna let others grow. There's one right here and others all the way around. So this is my first year growing a giant watermelon. I've learned a lot of lessons, and next year I should do better, and hopefully with these seeds grow another giant watermelon that's much, much bigger than this one. We're gonna weigh it soon, but I'm gonna let it get a little bigger. But take a look at this split. The split has gotten much worse. It's going in 3 different directions, but it's really splitting up the length of the watermelon. This grew way too fast, and that split's so big you can stick your finger in there and touch the pink watermelon. It's gonna start to rot soon, which is disappointing, but you live and learn. Well, it's the moment of truth. The split on my watermelon has gotten so big, it's time to cut it, and we're gonna take it over and weigh it. We'll just slice it off, and this plant can work on growing more watermelons. This thing is heavy. Okay, let's see how much this weighs. 78.4, and it stopped far short of what I wanted it to be. Some watermelon can grow over 300 pounds. I was hoping to get over 100 pounds, but the split on the end is just so bad. It's starting to rot inside, so we're gonna cut it open, save the seeds, and compost it. Well, you can see the rot on this side where it started with that crack, but there's quite a few seeds. I'm gonna save these, and then we're gonna compost the rest of the watermelon. Well, even though this turned into a rotten mess, I have the seeds, and I'm gonna try again next year. If you have a comment on how I can do better, leave a comment down below if you're an expert watermelon grower. But for now, I'm gonna throw this away and try again next year. Thanks for watching.